So the dominant faculty of music's largest student body is its voice majors, both at the master's level and at the undergraduate level. So what advice do you have for incoming students as well as graduating students, as well as even just hopeful emerging artists trying to get into the singing business?
What advice do I have for all those singers? Well, one thing I always say when someone says, I don't think that person has any voice, I go, watch out, never say never. You don't know what's going to happen as people mature. I had, for example, even this year, I had somebody sing an audition for Queen of the Night, and I was shocked that she could sing it so well. So, I winked. Because it has to be sung, and it was sung. So you never know how people's voices are going to grow and change over time. You just don't know. However, you do know some things. If people can't sing in rhythm and in tune, that's kind of an issue. Probably that's a problem. Certainly if you want to be a professional. The other thing is, keep all your options open all the time. Because once it was said to me in a negotiation, Ted said, you're going to do it for this and this and this. What would you do if you didn't do this? And I leaned right over the desk to this opera company person. This is a professional negotiation. I leaned right across the desk to him. I said, you want a list? And I was serious. Either it was going to pay or I wasn't going to do it. And that's not being full of myself. No, I didn't. I wasn't singing at the Metropolitan Opera then. I hadn't sung in San Francisco. I'd only sung in Toronto. So it wasn't like I was some big star or something. I just knew that either this works for me. I didn't mean I have to make a lot of money, but it could either pay the bills or I wasn't going to do it. And I gave myself a deadline. I said, if it's not doing that at a level where I think it's possible by the time I'm 30, or showing that it will be very soon, I'll do something else. I mean, goodness sakes, people have many, many talents. I'll tell you one thing about musicians and about all the students. If they're actually here seriously studying voice, that means doing their work and really studying it. The level of self-engagement and self-direction is extraordinary. That is welcome, I'm telling you, in business anytime. If you've been self-employed and worked really hard at being self-employed, business people will like you. There are people who have graduated from our music faculty and from other music faculties who have done extremely well. People, judges, lawyers, doctors, all kinds of. Don't think for a minute that studying music means that you're a slacker and you didn't do anything and you don't have any get up and go. If you really do a good job of this, and we have master's students and doctoral students, those people have worked really hard at this. That's a really good thing to have. You may decide at some point yourself as a singer or as a young singer that, yeah, but I don't see this is going to turn into something that I hope for, then I'm going to do something else. You think you're not going to be a success because you're not in music? Oh, for goodness sakes. Be a success at many things. Just check out what people who do at other things. You think, jeepers, I could do that. That was really my attitude. And I really don't think that I'm anything special that way. I just really put my mind to things and do all my own plumbing. Doesn't mean I don't respect plumbers. They do it 3 times as fast as I do. But I have time. Mine don't leak either. I take my time and do a good job. So, you understand that it can be done. As singers, we need to say, okay, some of us, I'm one of these people who can learn music very, very, very quickly. Or at least when I was, I don't know about now, I don't learn that much now. But when I was younger, I could learn an opera no problem in a couple of weeks and have it memorized and ready to go. And then I just had to make sure it was vocally connected up in the right way, of course, too. Some people take 4 weeks. Some people take 8 weeks to learn the same amount of music. As long as they start 8 weeks before the first rehearsal. At the first rehearsal, no one cares how long it took you to learn that aria or that role. They only care how you're doing it now. That's what's really important for young singers to remember. You may live in a house with 4 people, and they all take different, and 4 singers say, they all take different amounts of time to learn their music. All that matters is what happens at that first music rehearsal, if you're a professional, first music rehearsal when it's supposed to be memorized and ready to go. I mean, the first music rehearsal, you always use your book anyway, because you want to put notes in it and see what the conductor wants and so on, all right? But it doesn't matter. So I've worked in places where I know people did 2 weeks of work and they should have done 4. And we knew right away. Or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks. I could learn it too, but I never bothered doing that. The best thing for me and the best thing for all young singers, as soon as you know you're going to have to do a recital or a role, is get into it. And if you learn it really fast and you don't need it all yet, good, put it away for a couple of weeks and pick it up again. And now it's like you've learned it twice, and now you really know it. So my line always was, after I first did, for instance, I did my first Papageno in Toronto on the big stage. And after I'd done it, Lotfi Mansouri, then the general director, had me into his office and he said, "So how did you feel about that?" I said, "Well, that's okay." I said, I learned a few things." He said, "What did you learn?" I said, "Well, I learned that if I do this again, it's going to be a lot better next time, because I learned how to do the role. Now I know an idea of how to do the role. Now I approach the whole process of learning that role for that opera differently." And he says, "Interesting, that's the best answer. That's exactly what I was hoping you were going to say. We're doing it again in 4.5 years." He says, "Can I engage you now?" Well, of course I was over the moon, because I'd just done it. So was he, because he got me for about a quarter of what he would have had to pay me 4.5 years later. And I signed the contract right away. And he was smart. And I told him that, and he went, "Yeah, I did a good one, didn't I?" But he took a chance, because 4.5 years from then, I might have not been very good, although I probably wouldn't have done it then, but you know what I mean. So it's really important that young singers realize you have to have a long trajectory here. Some people really show the quality of their singing only in their mid-30s, particularly tenors and dramatic sopranos and things like that. Even a lot of baritones. Their voice keeps growing. My voice improved like crazy after I was 30. Especially in the lower tessitura and overall warmth of the sound. I had good high notes when I was a kid, so I worked all the time. So it's really important that you realize that you have to have the long view, and not just the view though. During that long view, you have to do some work and prep and really learn. There's so many things you can learn. Young students are going to come here, know music. It's not only about singing. Know how to read music. Know how to at least play your part on the piano. I mean your line, not the whole accompaniment. Idea what chords are. What are the sounds like? So you can learn music on your own. When people come with almost no keyboard skills, or very minimal ones, it's extremely hard for them to learn music. Great if you've learned another instrument along the way, because you have an appreciation for it. My instrument anyway was the violin, not piano, but I learned enough piano to get by. My parents wouldn't let me have violin lessons until after I'd taken piano lessons, so that was the deal. But I think it's really important that young singers realize that. So prior to coming here, do that work. If you don't have enough stick-to-itiveness, one of my mother's favorite words, stick-to-itiveness to do some theory and some practicing before you come to university, and you expect you're going to get it all here within 4 years, you're going to be very, very sadly disappointed. I went to university knowing grade 2 theory and having played violin up to a certain grade 8 level or so in Royal Conservatory, piano grade 6. I was so shocked when they accepted me. I thought, but I don't know anything about music. That was my attitude. And what did I learn in 4 years? I learned how little I knew about music. And what have I learned after 30 years? Even more how little I know about music. Actually, it's 42 years since I started singing professionally. I don't know anything about music. I mean, I know what I do, and I know lots about what I do, but man, music is vast. So when people spend all their weekends out partying, I go, my gosh, you have no idea what it's like. You will never be a professional if that's what you do. I didn't purposely lose friends, but that's what happened because I was so busy. So you have to understand that about singing and about being a musician. There's a big sacrifice involved. You know, be with people who understand. I can tell you honestly, mostly, even your closest family won't really understand what you do. I have a brother who really understands, but mostly they won't, because it's not because they don't want to, because they can't understand how hard you work on that. Really, what? You're just singing. How can it be that hard? Oh yeah, it's that hard to learn that music and be that way. And that is what people have to understand, and you just have to make those sacrifices. I mean, fortunately, I married my best friend. So that's cool. I have a best friend to hang out with. It would be kind of a bummer if it wasn't that. I don't know. I'd be an awfully lonely person. But the other thing I also decided as a singer, and this may be important to a lot of people, it's certainly important to some parents who listen. You can be a professional singer. You can be married or have a significant other. You can have a family. You can do all those things. I've done them. I have grandchildren. I spend time with my grandchildren, a lot of time. I spent time with my children. We took our children everywhere when we were singing. We never ever left our children when we went away and singing. We'd spent the money then. I'd love to have some of that money now, But if I didn't have my kids and had the money, then I wouldn't want the money. What's the point? Life's too short. I can't take it with me anyway. So I think you can do all those things, but you have to realize it's going to be a big organizational sacrifice. That's what it was. But I don't really look upon it as a sacrifice. Looking ahead to it, you feel that way, but once you're in it, no sacrifice at all. It was just one endless fun. I've done for my whole life what I would have done for fun anyway. Wow. Gee, that's really tough.